stronger, muscling up all the time. He's getting better with every race.
He's got everything. He's got gears, hasn't he? He travels, and he's just a really exciting horse.
He's not a flash, he's not a show-off. He just gets on and does his job.
They have 110 yards to go. Pyledriver, this will be a famous victory if he can do it. Pyledriver and PJ McDonald have won the King George.
As a trainer, you're always striving, you're trying to get to the top level.
Pyledriver just leading, but wavering in front from changing of the guard and west wind blows. Pyledriver's all over the shop, but the King George winner comes back with a glorious win at Royal Ascot.
I can't tell you, Hayley, I know how much this horse will improve. I knew he's a class horse, and I knew he'd be competitive because that's what he is. This is what we dream to have, horses like this. Come on, champ.
That probably meant a lot more than he's letting on, because I know he had some sleepless nights. Because he's a stable star, he's a top-level horse, and it wasn't a complete surprise. I know it sounds easy afterwards, but he'd already done it on the track a couple of times. He was a King George winner, so it wasn't a great shock when he won, but we were expecting him to need the race. And I think he did need the race, fitness-wise, but he was still good enough to win.
Steady short, steady Charlie Mans, just easy day. I think he's in great order. We haven't had to do anything, it's just been a natural progression from Royal Ascot to here. It's been a very easy way, we've not had to do anything hard or strange, he's just come and just improved from the run. I think you'll see a massive improvement in his fitness because he's hard now, he's now fit hard, where before he went into the races and I tried to explain it was like a footballer after an injury playing 70, 75 minutes, they'd take him off. He'd be match fit now.
He hadn't been able to gallop him, let alone run him, and he'd nursed him all the way through and had him in the swimming pool. So I think it was a lot of personal satisfaction in terms of how Williams coped with the blips.
He's not been injury prone. As a 4-year-old, he come off the gallops after galloping spectacular. The week before he was going to go for the first King George, and he got down and rolled and jumped up in his box and he pulled a muscle. He slipped his back leg, done the splits basically. So we had to give it time to come back, and then he come back and won at Lingfield and went to Hong Kong. And then when we went to Saudi Arabia, there was a horse come down in the race and fell into us. And after he got back, it progressively just started to show. And then it took us a while to find. We'd done every test in the book, and we found out, my vet was brilliant, and he found out that he just tweaked the attachments at the back of his knee on the suspensory. And as my vet said at the time, these can be an absolute pain. They can keep just being there. But fingers crossed, and let's hope we never see it again. You can't say you never will, but just fingers crossed we never see it again.
He's got a bit of character, but I think all the good horses do have a little bit something about him. And his stable is his territory, so if you go in there, you got to be careful. I've never been able to tack him up. I couldn't get a bridle on him. But once you're on his back, he's fine.
Everybody's got this theory, and they say it on telly, the horse wanders around, that's his thing, he wanders around.
Pyledriver just drifting across towards the far side.
The worst he's done it was in the Ledger, but that was because he was at the end of his TED. He had no more to give. His stamina had run out. It was too far.
Pyledriver wavering in front, Pyledriver's all over the shop.
In Hardwick, he was getting tired, and then when he gets tired, he seems to waver a little bit.
He didn't run around when he won at York. He didn't roll around when he won the Coronation Cup. Never moved, and then last year when he won the King George, he didn't roll around. This time I went to Ascot and I made it plain and clear he wasn't match fit. I think he was on fumes, and I think that's why he runs around. Here he comes. You can work him on his own, and he's absolutely perfect. His temperament's fantastic. You know, he's got these little things where he likes to bite, and he likes to do that, but as a temperament for a horse, his mind is outstanding.
My name is Chetaram Devasi, and Pyledriver is very happy. It's very good form, looking very good. I think it's better than last time.
My name is Babu Singh. I look after the Pyledriver. 5 years I work for here, and this is my very special horse. 20 years my experience in the horse is best horses for.
Jetta rides him all the time, and Babu looks after him. Babu works in the yard, but he's looked after him from day one. I think they've been a major influence to how good this horse is. I would chat to Jetta every day and say, right, what do you think? You know, and he would know him like the back of his hand.
Horses happy. Every team is very happy. Going to the video bus there looking, I have to say, all right. I say, oh yeah, I'm very happy.
Every year is improved. This year is much better and strong.
They've been amazing, Babu and Jetta. They've shown real patience with the horse because he can be a handful, and especially when he's not been in full exercise and they've had to swim him and do so much with him. Those guys have been so patient and they haven't tried to bully him, and they've worked with him, and that's been key to his recovery from the little niggling injuries he's had, because he is that type of horse where if you take him on, then he'll just get worse.
Pyledriver shows in front, he's a length and a half ahead and he's won. Pyledriver has won the King Edward VII.
Martin was fantastic on him. To be fair, Martin made this horse to where he was. For some reason he couldn't ride him when he won at Haydock, and I put PJ on him. And PJ said from that day, this is a very special horse. From one ride, he said, this feels like a group horse. And well, he's ridden him 3 times and won 3 times.
PJ just gets him, and he's got an understanding with him. And with a horse like Pyledriver, if you know him and you know his quirks and you know what he likes and his dislikes, it's a big bonus. He kind of goes with him, doesn't get into a fight with him, and just lets him be the boss, and then keeps him going when he needs to. So he's done a great job so far.
It's PJ McDonald on Pyledriver, 8-2 or 3 length leader. Pyledriver and PJ McDonald have won the King George.
Before the race, it was being talked about like this year as one of the races of the century. And after the race, nothing performed, which they all performed the next race afterwards. I think it was a strange race. I think we went very, very hard. The front 2 went off hard and we sat right in their slipstream. And we continued to go where I think sometimes this is the first time 3-year-olds step up with the older horses. It can take them out of their comfort zone. The year before when he won and it was COVID, there was nobody there, so I stood on the rail. So I found this place on the rail that I quite like, so I get in the same place, I go and stand down on the rail. And one of the cameramen, he obviously didn't know me, he walked across and he said, you wouldn't do me a favour, mate, you wouldn't press this button when the horses come past that board. I said, you got no chance, I'll be shouting so loud there wouldn't be any pressing the button, you'd have to ask somebody else. And sure enough, I was screaming the place down. I mean, I can't talk. Yeah. I could cry today. That's the first time I've ever wanted to cry in racing. But this is the greatest achievement. This is one of the biggest races in the calendar, so on a personal level, you couldn't beat this because this race is one of the ones that you grow up living. You've seen Grundy beat Bustino and all those great horses running in this type of race, and you think it's one of the things you dream about, you want to win. You don't believe it, but you dream, could we ever win it? And yeah, we actually did. This
horse always kind of flies under the radar a little bit. I think if he was in a bigger yard, he'd probably be favourite every time he runs. And maybe he doesn't get the appreciation he deserves, and if he can win a second King George, you know, that would just seal it, wouldn't it? Because there's not many that win 2. I'm confident I got the horse in a very, very good place. I think it's an exceptionally good race. So you would be absolutely foolish to be going into a race like this thinking, oh, we're going to go there and it's all boom, 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 because that doesn't happen. As long as I can do everything in my power to get him to the races and he's in great form, I can't do anything about it then. You will him to do so well and you will him to show his best, but every athlete, every sportsman, they can have days where it doesn't happen.
He likes Ascot, and today he's looking very happy, good form. Ready to King George. Very exciting.
I'm very excited, and he's loving Ascot. He's running in the 4th time. He's been 3 times in the win. So I'm very excited and finger crossed.
Oh, he's a very special horse. He could go to Aidan O'Brien's, John Gosden, William Haggis, any of the big trainers, Roger Veron, all the big boys you can think of, and he'd be one of the highest class horses in their yard. So he's a very, very special horse.
Easy rocket. I'm very excited. Maybe one day before no sleep.
How many horses have won back-to-back King Georges or won 2 King Georges, whether it's back-to-back or over a couple of years. I mean, yeah, he would have to be known then as one of the better horses of all time.
Oh, he said, now I'll come and bite you. He said, you've had a little bit of love, now you can have a bite. And there's plenty of teeth.
To get a horse like this and to prove that small trainers, if they get the material, they can train the big winners. You only dream about having horses like this.